morning and good evening to all, and welcome to the world of Workday. So today we are going to talk about the overview of Workday. We did have a quick overview in our last session, but today we will go formally what all things we can do in Workday, what all things we are going to cover in Workday, how Workday got evolved. So we are going to do that part. So let me quickly introduce myself. So my name is Manthan, and I carry 10 plus years of experience. And from last 8 years, I am with Workday ecosystem. And in terms of my designation, I am taking care of. I am a Workday lead in one of the MNC and taking care of implementation. So I have done 3 implementation and 4 support projects in my 8 years of journey. My expertise are I carry now I'm a certified consultant. So when I say certified means I'm a certified consultant by Workday, HCM fundamental certified, core compensation certified, reporting certified, and recently I have completed a performance module certification. In terms of my core area where I have performed in all these 8 years are like HCM, core compensation, performance module, reporting, EIBs, calculated field are my area where I have dedicatedly worked on. Okay, then let's get started. Okay, so again, guys, thank you so much for your introduction. So the purpose I have an introduction to just to get to know about what audience I have, and based on that, I will like go ahead. And it is not like that a predetermined training where you just go with the flow. No, it's like the based on the audience, we have to define what kind of flow we should go, what kind of content we are going to go. So I see that we have got like again the flavor of all. Some of you are freshers, some of you are experienced professionals, some of you are into different organization or different carrying different experience but wanted to make career in HCM. So what I'll do, I'll go again. It is not like that I have to just rush and complete. So I'll make sure that you guys follow the concept. In case you are not getting it, you have all the rights to raise your hand and ask me that, hey, I'm not getting this. Can you please explain it again? Okay. So please do not hesitate to ask me anything in case you are not getting any concept. Here, guys, as I say, if you are asking me to perform well, the only thing what I wanted from you guys is to make sure that whatever we have done during the session, you should just replicate that when you go ahead with your practice, and then only it will be understood. So practice is the only key to understand Workday. Okay. Okay, guys. So let's kickstart the session and see what we have for today. Yes, so let's go ahead with the agenda. We are going to talk about cloud computing. We will talk about on-premises. Then why Workday? We all are going for an Workday HCM. So before we go ahead with HCM, if you ask me, I can directly start with HCM, but that is not going to help you guys. We need to make sure that if we are looking out for any application, what is the reason why we are going for it? Who organized it? So we are going to look out for all that thing. Then we're going to talk about an HCM. We are focusing on HCM module, advantages, history also, who invented or, and then the big one that what all topic we are going to cover. And when we say HCM functional consultant, we have a dedicated topic that we say that we are going to cover all those topics. So we'll go around with that part. Okay. So introduction about cloud computing. Now, since we are focusing on Workday, so Workday is a cloud application. Cloud, when I say cloud application means when we give you the access, we are not going to ask you to install anything onto your local machine. No, we will give you your link. We will give you the ID and password, and that's it. So to log in into Workday application, we need a credentials, and no application is required. That means what will happen? What is happening? Okay, so what will happen that your data will be stored onto a centralized application. So when I say centralized application means you can access Workday from your laptop, your tab, your desktop, you can access Workday from any of these devices, and whatever data you store, your data is going to store onto a centralized application, and you need an internet connection. So if you see here, all of these devices are connected to this centralized service where it is connected via internet. So what happens? Likewise, your Facebook. So what you do in Facebook, when you upload your data, you're not storing data onto your local machine. You're storing data onto a Facebook centralized services where your data is getting stored. Something is getting wrong. So your data is getting stored there. Workday works on the same thing. Whenever you update something or you be in India, maybe your 1 second, 1 moment, guys. I'm just getting a call from Mr. Rao. Let me just check. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so it is a cloud application. So cloud means you need to have an internet which is stored over an internet, and computing means you can perform your activity. So in Workday application, all my data will be stored onto a centralized application. So even though if my access goes off, or uh, I am moving to any country, or I am going on to any place, let's say I'm working from India and then I'm moving to US, no problem. Your data is not going to get hampered. You can change your system and you can get to your access. So it is a centralized application. Data is not stored onto your local system. It is onto the central repository, and it is a cloud computing application. The way we access Facebook, the way we access our Google Drive, it is same concept where you can access with any device. The only prerequisite, you should have the internet connection and the credentials. If you have these two things, then you'll be able to work or perform your actions on Workday. Then why Workday then? Why this concept introduced? Because when I talk about early 2000 or maybe late 90s, we have seen that whenever we are working on any software, everyone is asking that, hey, you need to install your software onto your machine and then only you can access. So for example, PeopleSoft. So if anyone have worked on PeopleSoft, you see that you have to install any software on any other application. You will have to install one software and then only you'll be asked to go ahead with that part. So on premises, when I talk about on premises, means you need to have a software installed onto your local machine, and that is the only way where you can perform your actions. Okay, so examples are PeopleSoft, SAP, Oracle EBS are some application. Something is wrong, guys. 1 second. Just let me stop the share because system is going. You can see my screen or not?
No, Manthan.
Now?
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So on premises means you need to have a software installed and then only you can work on it. But Workday is not a on premises module. Workday is a cloud application where you just need to have an why it is being there. Now, if I talk about the demerits of on-premises means, let's suppose if my laptop got stolen, you're not able to access your application, or maybe if your application is on your office network, office environment, and now let's suppose in during the COVID time, if your application is working only on the office network, then it becomes very tough for anyone from work from home. But since we have a concept of cloud, and that encourages all the IT firm to work from home because their work can be performed. But if I thought that no, let me have my on-premises application, then everyone says that no, you have to come in office because we have a office network setup, and if you don't come or join with office network, your application will not work. So the first demerit is you need to be on the premises to access the application. Second drawback is whenever you store data onto your customer's database. When I say customer's database means if your customer database is not working or there is some like let's say there is some disconnections or anything happened, then you might lose your data. So to avoid all of these and bring a optimized application where you can simply by the use of internet you can perform your action, then everyone thought about, let's suppose if that is the error, let me come on with the application where I don't need any software. It should not be a system specific and I can seamlessly perform my work. Then the concept came in picture, a cloud computing, where if you look about the application, Workday, Salesforce, Oracle Fusion, all of these applications are cloud applications. So they need internet, but it is not the system specific or a software specific application. Okay, then you see here I have three sections where it is infrastructure, a platform, and a software. So infrastructure as a service. What does an infrastructure as a service mean? So if you see here, as I said, when we talk about on-premises, so let's suppose I'll stick with PeopleSoft because PeopleSoft is a very good example. Now, guys, PeopleSoft is again a software for HCM where customer can purchase PeopleSoft application from the vendor and they can work on the PeopleSoft. Okay, so the way we are using Workday, so PeopleSoft is also the application for HCM world. So let's suppose if I'm using PeopleSoft, when I say I am a customer. So as a customer, when you see you manage means it is a customer who has managed. So customer need to have application means number of licenses. Then I should have a runtime means there are several other system requirement. I should have that security and integrations. I should create a security and database where my data will show. All of these things is to be handled by customer. Then server visualization, guys, these are IT terminologies, and since we are not looking out an infrastructure as a service as a more, so we will just understand what is infrastructure. So when I say infrastructure means we need to handle all of these applications as a customer, and all of these items will be maintained by vendors. So PeopleSoft is vendor and they can work on it part. Then in infrastructure as a service, it was in early 80s where this concept started, where you have this concept. Then in early 2000, we have a concept of platform as a service. So for an example, a Microsoft Office. So to use Microsoft Office, we need to have an application. We need to install a software, and then all of these items are being maintained by Microsoft. Or antivirus. When I talk about antivirus, I need to install an antivirus onto my local system, and all the upgrades and anything happens which is being taken considered by online. So I just need to have a application install. That concept is called as platform as a service. Now, when we talk about in current generation, Workday is software as a service. Now, software as a service means what? We need to subscribe to a service. Now, I am not buying Workday application. I am not getting Workday application. I am simply subscribing to a service. So when we talk about Facebook or a Google Drive, are we owning Are we owning Facebook or Google? No, right? We are simply subscribing to a service. Till the time we are using it, we can use it. Let's suppose if I say from henceforth, I'm not going to use Facebook. So I say that no problem, I'll discontinue the service. So in software as a service, you are using service, but you're not buying the product. In these cases, I am owning all of these items. I am getting the license of application, but in Workday, I'm not doing anything of this. All of these actions are being performed by vendor. Now, guys, we are learning Workday, but Workday itself is an organization. Okay, so Workday is company, and Workday company has a software or an ERP called Workday HCM, and we are learning Workday HCM. Okay, so when I talk about software as a service, Workday is offering all of these items to customer where customer will not have to take care of anything. Now, what is the advantage of this? The advantage of these, if you go ahead with this, again, I have to purchase all of these items and there is a cost involved. I have to do this part in platform as a service, again, a cost involved and the maintenance is needed. But when I talk about software as a service, I don't have to take care of any of these items. That means that will be maintained by and taken care by Workday. So I just have to pay that. Yes, obviously, money is involved in all of these type of services. But as a customer, let's suppose if I'm a manufacturing company, if I'm a manufacturing company, why would I focus more on my the software development cycle? Because my core area is not that part. So to avoid such scenario, it is very important that we should take care of the thing where it is being maintained by the owner or the product person, and that is the reason in today's world we are now onto software as a service. We are not purchasing anything, we are using an application, a service. Till the time we are using it, we can use it. Once we say that no, I'm done with that, we can discontinue the service. I am not purchasing anything. Here in this case, what happens in case if I wanted to discontinue, again, you have to take care of this and then manage and then do things. That is customer have to own. Let me- One second. Background noise. Because if you're not talking, then you can be on mute. Okay. So Workday is software as a service. So we say that SaaS. Okay. Then why Workday? Now, who implemented or who started Workday, or why Workday like came in picture, and we all are here. We all are here just to our core area is to understand that hey, I see that there is a lot of job and I want a job. Yeah, that is there. But when you are going for that job, we need to have a little bit of background to understand. Hey, this is the reason why I am going for Workday. So I'm going to explain what is the reason that we all are here and focusing on Workday. Me too. If you're asking me, from last 8 years, I'm into Workday. So there is a reason, right? So if you see these two gentlemen and people who knows or who have been worked on PeopleSoft application, so these two gentlemen are he is Dave Duffel and Anil Boosri. So these faces are very familiar in the IT world. So they were the owner of PeopleSoft. As I said, PeopleSoft is also an HCM application where you take care of your manpower in the system. So they were owning PeopleSoft. In 2004, they sold PeopleSoft to Oracle. Okay, they sold PeopleSoft to Oracle and they came up with a new application called Workday. So in 2005, they introduced a new application called Workday, and Workday itself is a company, guys. So Workday is a company and their software name is also Workday. Okay, why they did that? The reason behind is, as I said, every day a technology is changing. So PeopleSoft was working on a traditional way where I need to have my server, I need to have my visualization, everything has to be maintained by Workday, sorry, a PeopleSoft. Then what they did, they overcome all the drawbacks which were there in PeopleSoft and they came up with a new application called Workday. So all the drawbacks were being eliminated, and yes, Workday works on and cloud computing. When I heard a concept of cloud computing in 2007 during my college days, I said cloud computing is not going to fly because that time internet services were not there great. So my impression was since internet is not there and manufacturing organizations are mostly like operate onto the remote areas. So if internet services is fluctuating, and when you store your data, you're not storing data onto your local machine, you're storing data onto a centralized place where third party will monitor your data. So when I store data in Workday, so Workday will monitor the data. So I have all of these fear when I thought why cloud computing is getting introduced. This is not going to fly. But when you talk about today's generation, everything is on web. Okay, you store your data, you store your credentials. So my first impression was this, but now you when you talk about, so they were the visionary people. In 2005, they get to know about that maybe after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years down the line, everyone will talk about internet. And they came up with the concept of Workday as the cloud application in 2005. Okay. And the reason behind is Workday is like a umbrella. So you see that it is built for a cloud, means it is on internet. So you don't have to install anything. Everything will be maintained by Workday. It is unified finance and HR application. So finance and HR application is, let's suppose if I'm implementing HR and 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, I wanted to install or implement finance also. So Workday do offer finance module. Now, what is the difference with other application and Workday? When I have Workday as a HCM and I wanted to implement finance, I don't have to do any integration. My data will automatically be available in finance. But in other application, if I'm implementing PeopleSoft, HCM, and later on I decide to go for finance, then I have to create a lot of integration to make sure that all my HR data will go to finance. So again, there is a waiting time. But in HCM Workday, it is not the case. If I have one data with me, or if I have one module implemented, the data for that one module will automatically be available for other modules. That means there is no waiting period. Leadership with a proven track record. That means if you look at your 15 years or 20 years of journey, in 2005, Workday implemented, and now it's like 17 years. When they started, they have only one customer, or maybe less than that, maybe again, one customer, when I say, means only with few applications. But now when we talk about after 17 years, none of the customers have raised a voice and said that no, Workday is not working, I'm not satisfied. Okay, you do get a people that it is not working, but again, you have both the kind of people in the world. But leadership with a proven track record means every year or every version of Workday, we'll talk about how versioning happens in Workday, but Workday is getting improved, and yes, customers are happy, and that is the reason we all are working. Highest customer satisfaction rate means they focused more on customer satisfaction rather than there, and that was their key success. Since customers are happy, obviously customer attracts customer, and one customer is happy, we will get the business. So that is how they have started with it. Again, just to introduce, Dave Duffel and Anil Dusri are the owner of Workday. They were part of PeopleSoft, and then they sold PeopleSoft to Oracle, and then they introduced a new application called Workday. Workday is a cloud application, and it gets started its first product or in the market in 2005. Okay, now evolution of Workday. Now, as I said, we are on 17th year of Workday. Then how did the application what we are going to use today was the same which has been introduced in 2005? No, it was not the case. In 2005, they only introduced an application called HCM. And guys, that is the reason we are learning HCM, because HCM is the key module to all other modules. So even though if I wanted to focus more on payroll or on recruiting or on inventory, but if I don't understand HCM, then all of these applications will be of no use, or you're not going to do that part. So even though you say, no, HCM is not my cup of tea, I'm a finance guy, why would I learn HCM? But Workday says, no, you need to have like understanding of HCM, and then only you can go for a finance. And in 2005, they introduced a first module called HCM. And during the journey of 17th year, you see that every year or every version, now guys, this 1, 2, 3 is a version in Workday. Every version has something or the other to offer. So you see that right after HCM, they came up with the concept of finance, then Canada, payroll, time tracking, and so on. So this 17 years is not like that only focused on HCM. They have introduced several modules in their umbrella that if I am a customer and I'm looking out for HCM for the first, and then later on I decide, no, I need a payroll application as well, then they can get it. So all of these application is not being developed overnight. It took several years, and that is the reason I said continuous innovation. It is like, it is not that they only focus on HCM. They get into different modules, and they have incorporated all the modules in their umbrella. Now let's talk about the versioning, how versioning happens, and this can be an interview question. Okay, so when Workday started, it was like in 1 year they'll come up with one version. So we started with 1, then version 2, version 3, version 4, version 5. So every year they are coming with a new version. From past, maybe from 2010, they have introduced a concept of versioning where twice in a year. So 2 times in a year, Workday will come up with a version. So now the date is already defined. It's like first Monday of March and first Monday of September. These two are the date where Workday will come up with a new version, and you'll be glad to know that when they are coming up with a new version, they are not charging anything. It is version given to all the customer by default. So if you talk about Australia or a customer from US, you will see that both the customers are using same version. But when I talk about Microsoft Office, I might be using 2010, you might be using 2015. So versioning difference, because when I go for an upgrade, there is a charge involved. But in terms of Workday, it is not the case. If you are associated with Workday, all the releases, all the applications, you're going to get timely manner without cost. Okay, so in from 2000, they introduced twice in a year upgrade, and it was again 23, 24, 25, 26. Now from every 10 years they change their pattern. Now from 2020, they have introduced a concept of R1 2020, R2 2020. Now what is R1 and R2? Means release 1 of 2020, release 2 of 2020. And twice in a year, Workday comes up with a release, means a new version, and it gives their version to all the customer. Now, when I say it gives me, it is not forcefully giving that, hey, you have to use. No, you have an opt-in feature, you have a direct available feature. Directly available feature, you can directly use it, but there are opt-in features where even though you say that, no, I'm comfortable with the older version, I don't want the new version. No problem. Workday will give you that part. It's up to a customer whether they wanted to use a new feature or not, because the features are opt-in. Means you have to select that, yeah, I am confirming that I want a new feature of recruiting. I wanted to use a new feature of benefit. So there are opt-in features and directly available features. So from 2020, they introduced a new naming convention for their releases, R1 and R2. R1 will release every year in the month of March, first week of March, where Monday, then second release in September. So we are due for the second release. When we come to September, we will talk about a new version, which will be R2 2022. Okay, guys, this can be an interview question, that how versioning is updated in Workday. So you say that it started with 1, 2, 3, but from 2020, they introduced a new concept of R1 and R2. So currently we are using which version? R1 of 2022. When we go to September, we will be using R2 2022. Then in 2023, what will be the version? R1 2023. Okay. Okay. During this journey, if you are following Workday, or if you are going like looking out for the news, this journey is not that simple. During this journey, they have incorporated several other organizations. As I said, they were smart in HCM, But they say that no, I want to look out for finance. So they acquired one of the financial organization. They during this journey they acquire different organization to get their expertise and develop a new application. So they did that part. Currently, we are using a new version. So when I say new version, means it is R1 2020. Since the slide is a bit older, but if you go with the count of the customers, so it is, if you go with exact count, so it is 3,483 or 89 customers are currently using Workday across the globe. Okay, it is Skill Cloud, and Skill Cloud means it is based on the cloud application and Adaptive Insight acquisition. So recently, Workday acquired an organization called Adaptive Insight, which is for again a human. It is for a manpower planning. How you can plan your manpower and look out for that. So they have recently acquired an organization called Adaptive Insight, and they have merger with them, and now Adaptive Insight is part of Workday. Okay, so this is how a Workday evolved. Now, guys, this is bit technical, so I'll just give you the overview how Workday works. Now, we know why Workday, we know how Workday got evolved, but we need to have a little bit of background that how actually Workday works. Okay, guys, that is more into a technical part. So as I said, we are focusing on functional part of Workday. So I'll just give you the overview of Workday. Okay. Let's take half a minute to go over this structure so that you again, it is not like that you, I'm not going to explain, but take half a minute just to go over this framework and then I'll talk. Okay, have a look for half a minute. Okay, now if you look at this framework, it has got two things to focus on. One, what customer manages, and the other part is Workday production, which Workday is going to, as I said, customer have to have something, means they have to have a browser and internet connection. Rest everything is being maintained and monitored by Workday, and same thing has been explained here. If you look at what customer, let's suppose I am a customer. For an example, Netflix is using Workday, and as a Netflix, what I need to have as a Netflix customer, I need to have a mobile browser. So I see that, hey, let me have an internet connection and I am subscribed to a Workday service. So I have only that part. Then if you look at this part, let me use my note. One second. So we will focus on this segment first, these area. Okay. This area, and then we talk about the other part. So first thing first, as a customer, I need to have a mobile browser or internet. Then let's suppose I am a user. I am a user from Netflix and I'm logging into a Workday. So when you log in into a Workday, what first thing will happen? Obviously, I need an internet connectivity. Then there is an interface called user interface UIS. Means here my, if I'm giving my credentials, so first my authenticity will be checked here, validated if I'm a authenticated user or not. So let's suppose if I'm giving wrong credential or I'm giving wrong ID and password, and so here only Workday says, hey, you are not the right person. Workday will throw me out. Now let's suppose I'm a genuine user. Okay, so here Workday will do an user interface services where it will check. Yes, it is being checked. So what all things here will be checked is like, if I am a manager, I have a different access. If I am a CEO of the organization, I will have a different view. If I am normal employee, I have a different view. So all these things will be checked in the user interface services where it will say, hey, you are a manager. So let me show the screen what manager can see. Okay, if you are the HR partner, so here that thing will be validated. Once I am get been validated, then only it will allow me to take care of my services. Now, obviously, when I say manager have a different access. If I am a employee, I will have a different access. So based on that part, now guys, it is not SQL, it is everything in Workday is an object based. So when we go into the tenant, we'll talk about that. But Workday is a object management services. So any data in Workday is stored as an object. So when an object means when I talk about worker. So under worker, what all thing will have? We'll have first name, we'll have last name, we'll have date of birth, we'll have personal information. All such thing will fall under Workday object. So Workday works on a concept of Workday object management services where my data is stored onto an object. Now, if you see here, little XML, Workday works on XML thing. Now, why XML? Because when you talk about a application where I'm using a heavy code, then you need a high bandwidth. But in terms of Workday, this is not the case. If you have internet with a low bandwidth also, you can still use your application because XML needs a low bandwidth. XML, the like any coding which I have used or done by the use of XML that requires low bandwidth. So Workday only understand XML as a language. If you see here, here my user interface services has been given. It has been validated and all my request will go into an XML language. Means a low bandwidth. A low bandwidth is a requirement. So whether I am, let's suppose I'm hiring an employee. So I'll hire an employee in my system. I'll give first name, last name, compensation. It will all go here and it will sit into the OMS application. Okay, because we are going to have a data as well, right? If I'm using Workday application, I can get the data into the system. I can put data into the system. Means I'm adding the data and then I'm using the data for my reporting purpose. So this is how it works when I am adding a data into the system. Now, then the second concept is data services. Data services means if let's suppose I am using HCM for Workday, but my payroll application is different. I'm using Oracle payroll. Okay. Now, obviously, if I'm using Oracle payroll, I'll say that, hey, do you want to add data in both the application? No. As an end user, as a rich experience, you'll say, no, I am going to maintain data in either of the application and then let that application manage. Means you'll say, hey, all my employees' demographic information should go from Workday to Oracle's seamlessly. I'm not going to maintain data, and this is not the right approach, right? If I ask you, no, you have to hire employee into application, you will also say, why would I do that? So when your integration comes in picture, where you ask your application, Workday application to talk to another application. Now Workday is one application, Oracle is different application, SAP is different application. So when you allow these two applications, different vendor application to communicate with each other, the concept comes in picture is an integration. Now guys, the name itself give you a overview that integration means when two different applications. Now guys, here I'm not talking about Workday HCM with Workday payroll. I'm saying Workday HCM with Oracle payroll. Okay, they both understand different language. They both based on different concept. So when I talk about integration, again, if let's suppose I have an Oracle here and I want to get my Oracle data into Workday, how it will work? Oracle will say, hey, I will give you a payslip. I have to create an integration services. Mean there is a linking. I have to do that part. I'll do that linking services into integration services. But when it comes to store the data in Workday, again I have to send the data into XML. Means if I want to store data in Workday from third-party application, I need to have XML. Other way around, if I wanted to get demographic data, if I wanted to have demographic data from Workday to Oracle, even in that case, Workday will first give me data in XML. By the use of integration, I will use my programming. Now, guys, integration is a technical terminology. So the person who wanted to be in technical side of Workday, integration services are for them. So they'll write a programming code. They will convert the XML into understandable language by Oracle. Okay, we are not going to go in that detail. Okay, what is the other advantage? Let's suppose if this OMS service is now disaster happened, flood happened, and this OMS services is now no longer accessible. All the data center is being submerged in water. Then what? Your data is gone for toss. You're not going to use application. Then how that happens? In such scenario, there is another server where it is a persistent services. Means in case, as of now, there is no scenario where this happened, but in case if such thing happens, your data will be in the safe hand because it is mirrored. Whatever data you are storing in Workday OMS, same data will be replicated into persistent services. That means instead of getting the request from here, now my request will flow to persistent services. Okay, that means as a customer, my data is not getting deleted, or it is my system is not getting hampered because I have a persistent service concept. Wherever I lose my access to my OMS, then it will route it to the persistent services. Here I talk about the deployment. Means integration services has to be deployed. Deployed means this is something which I have to have in my local system. We'll talk about when we have an overview of integration. We will talk about this, that since you are talking about a programmatically change something, then you have to have an application called Workday Studio. Just an overview. So we will have that part deployed, and then only we can perform the actions. I know, guys, this architecture is a bit of confusion because now we are still onto the learning phase. We are just getting to know about how Workday works, and I'm giving you the high level of architecture. No problem if you're not following this. This is not the right time, but just I wanted to give you a taste of it. That do you see that Workday has only the functional part? No, it has only it also has the technical part of it, where depending upon our interest, we can move on with that front. Okay. So far, any questions, guys? What all thing we have covered? Any questions or any concerns you have?
Hello, this is Lakshmi Kant.
Yeah.
Yeah, regarding that version we have talking about, right? Every
Yeah.
Monday, March, and the second version is
September.
Monday, September. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and then you have told about that after 2020 R1 and R2, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. R1,
What?
R2. That's correct.
Yeah. Yes. What is the meaning of R? Any specification
Release.
is there?
No, no,
R1.
no, no. Release one. Release one. Release
Okay.
two of 2020.
Okay. Okay.
So
Previously, they were talking about 2010.
some
After that version, after 2020, they called name called R1 and R2.
yeah, they just rename themselves, and now they'll not say to it 31, 32, 33 till 34.
Okay.
Now here I have only 29 version, but till 34, it was version 1, 2, 3, 34. After 34, they changed their naming convention from R1 from 34 to R1, the and followed by the year. So currently we are on to R1 2022. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Manthan.
Yeah.
Could you please repeat this section called data services? I'm a little confused over there.
Okay. Now data services means now I have a setup called I have Workday HCM and I have Oracle payroll. Okay. Now Workday is a different work application. Oracle is different application. And if
Okay.
customer has that, you cannot force customer. Now you like decommission your Oracle and go for Workday because they have paid, right? They have paid. They have subscribed to Oracle also. And why would they don't like Workday payroll? Can be a scenario, right? So in
Okay.
such scenario, are you going to be updating data in both the applications simultaneously? No, you'll say that why would I do that? If see in Workday, you'll store your demographic information. In Oracle also, since you're processing a payroll, you need an employee record. That means you need to have an employee record in both the applications. But the first thing is you're not going to maintain employee record in both the system. You are going to maintain in one system, let technology do the work, and then they can send the data to Oracle or to Workday. So this is my
Oh,
requirement. How this will be working? How my data from Workday will go to Oracle or from Oracle it will come to Workday? There has to be some linking because foundation or the development methodology for Workday is different. Oracle might be different. Two applications are different in nature, and if they are different in nature, you cannot force them no understand Workday or understand Oracle. So there has to be a medium application which can allow you to integrate two different applications. Say that no problem, you can use integration services. So there are different integration services which we can
okay.
use. So Workday has three applications: EIB, Core Connector, and Studio. Guys, it is too technical, so I'm not going that deep. I'll just give you a overview of it. So
Okay.
when I say I want to get data from Workday and send it to Oracle, then such integration, communication can be done via integration services. And this will help me to migrate or move my data from Workday to Oracle or from Oracle to Workday. Is it better
Okay.
now?
Yeah, and one more, just a follow-up question. So
Uh-huh.
I can have like some features taken from Workday and like some features taken from Oracle. Like two two apps can work at a time here. Like I can take some one feature from Workday and have the payroll come from Oracle. Like
Mhm.
what's the difference? Like is Workday payroll different from the Oracle payroll?
See, user interface is different. Okay. Then
Mm-hmm.
security is different.
Okay.
You have that feature, right? I say that no, I'm because I've already purchased Oracle. And guys, when we talk about these application, it is not like the cost is involved, time is involved, everything is involved. So when I say, hey, I already have payroll, so I'm not going to stick with Workday. I need Workday HCM because I find Workday HCM is very like user friendly or it is readily available. But I don't like Workday payroll. So you will
Oh,
not force customer that, hey, customer, you take care of, like, get rid of Oracle and get Workday payroll. No,
mhm.
right? It's customer's choice. I can't force customer to do anything since I am offering that. So
Okay, got it.
in this scenario, customer says, I have two application, or you have to deal with you have to come up with a common point where you say that data from Workday will move, and Workday offers that services, which is integration services. And by the use of integration services, this is achievable. As a customer, what you don't want to add data into application. This is what your requirement. As long as your system is working, you are getting your data, your payroll is getting generated. There is no need to have Workday payroll. So to
Okay.
diminish or to come up with that part, integration services are there in given by Workday. By the use of services, we can integrate two different applications. I'm just
Okay,
giving you
got it.
example for payroll, but there are several other applications. Customer says we are not using finance, we are using HCM Workday, but I want my data from HCM to go to finance. Can be achieved via integration.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Manthan.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Yeah. Okay. So
So
since
just wanted,
huh?
yeah. So
Yes,
like, do we cover along with functional? Will be covering technical integration part as well.
I'll come to that point. We have that slide is already there. So I'll come. So what I'll do now. So let me first complete, and then we can open up for the Q&A. Okay. or else the topic which you are coming and I might miss that, or maybe you need more clarity. So we'll see that part. That slide is already there. What all things we are going to offer, and then we will have a question whether this is part of it or not. We will take care of that part. Okay, so again, I'm not going to spend good time on this Workday Advantages because we have already seen this guy. Unified suites of application means Workday is not only offering HR, Workday has several other modules. And if you're using Workday Financial, Workday HR, Workday Talent, then your data is applicable readily. Then integration will not come in picture. Integration will come where you have non-Workday application. Okay, so it is unified suites of application. Lower total cost of ownership. Obviously, if I'm not asking customer to take care of any server, any middleware, any software, any hardware. So obviously, if I have given my customer a laptop, that's it. But in previous, on-premises, I have to give laptop, then license, then software, and all those things. Here, it is not the case. You don't have to install any. If you're using a low version also, Workday is accessible. If you're using high-end system, Workday is accessible. Lower total cost of ownership. Rapid development and faster time to value. So if I compare implementation of PeopleSoft for 20,000 employee versus Workday, then PeopleSoft used to take 1.5 years for the entire implementation of PeopleSoft. On the other side, Workday implementation is in 6 months. Now, guys, when you give time, you're also giving your money. So 1.5 years, and the same thing is being completed in 6 months. So time taken for the development is less. You have a less waiting time. Less wasting time means you're not investing that much, and at the same time you are using the application in a quick time. Continuous innovation and adoption. So continuous innovation and adoption means it is not like that they started with HCM. They are not only the HCM expert. During the course, they have incorporated several different modules wherein this is one umbrella where customer says, no, I need inventory. Yes, you have inventory. Go ahead with that part. Okay. So it is continuous innovation and adoption. It is not like that they started with HCM and they are hero in HCM. No. As a customer is asking for any new thing, they are considering that, they are evaluating, and if that is needed, they can go on that part. Then safety. Safety from the start. What is happening? There is something wrong with my system, but okay. Excuse me. Safety from the start. As I said, when I heard about the concept of cloud, I was under the impression that my data will get compromised. It is not the case. To host data of the customer, one has to have a certification. So Workday is a certified of ISO 2020. Now this terminology, ISO 20000, 27001, SSAE, means these are the certification required to host a data. Means it is not like that they're simply hosting the data and they are playing with that part. No. To host data, one has to have a certification and regulatory followed, and they have that part. And importantly, since we are on 17th year of Workday, and not even a single customer have raised a concern saying that, no, my data is compromised. There is not even a single case. So that means data is not been hampered, not been maintained, and they are in the safe hands. In case, because if it is not happening, it doesn't mean that it will not happen. So in case any customer comes up and raise this issue that, hey, their data is being hampered, they're tempered, and they have been given to their again competitor, Workday, when you go for a service, there is a legal agreement saying that if you find that, then Workday will pay 10 times of that loss. So it is not only, but data is in safe hands, and there is a legal agreement in if such thing happens, so Workday will compensate for that part. Okay, so it is not that I thought of if they are using, my only concern when I heard about cloud is data tampering or data manipulation. That was the only concern. Otherwise, it is good. So not even a single case is being registered where any customer says that no, data is compromised and you can go in that part. So safety from the start. Okay, your data is in safe hands and it is not going to be manipulated or being viewed by any other or non-authorized person. Okay, so you can use that one. So these were some of the advantages. Okay, now about the tenant. What is tenant? How tenant terminologies work? Now, I am not saying Workday software, Workday ERP, or Workday application. I am saying tenant, right? You guys are saying I need tenant access. So, what does that tenant means? What is the word? What is the word tenant means? Tenant means till the time I am subscribing to a service, I'm gonna use it. If I'm not happy with the service or I wanted to discontinue, I'll say, hey, can discontinue my service. So when you go for, let's say you move from India to US, so you be on a tenanted world, right? You say that, hey, let me tenant one house so that I can stay there. So you get for fully furnished tenant house there and you stay there. Let's suppose you again moving back to India. So what you'll do, you'll say that no problem, I'll leave this and come back to India. Same terminology. You're not buying the application or licensing the application. You're simply subscribed to a service and you are using that service. So that is the concept of tenant. Workday has three tenants, three types of tenant: production, sandbox, and implementation. Now, if I am a customer and I wanted to go for Workday, so Workday will give me three tenants. Okay, what is production? Production means where my live environment goes, where my live data is there. All my day-to-day transaction will happen in production. So it's simple to understand. What is sandbox tenant? Sandbox tenant means one of my customer raises an issue, says that, hey, the position which I have created is not showing me the right value or it is wrongly created. So as a Workday consultant, you will not start solving the issue in production, right? You will not do that part. What you will do? You will do a test in a testing environment. So sandbox is a testing environment. So if any issue is being raised by customer, you will do that part in your sandbox tenant first. So sandbox tenant means, now guys, how this works, it is very important to understand. Every Friday, data of all the production will come to sandbox tenant. Getting my point, guys? So if I have 10 errors in production, all the 10 errors will come in my sandbox environment. Okay, and if it is there in my sandbox environment, means I can do a test. So sandbox is a testing environment. So you will do a testing here. If your testing is successfully completed, then only you will migrate it to production. Then for what purpose? We have implementation. Implementation means, let's suppose I started with HCM, but I wanted to implement HR. I wanted to implement compensation. Obviously, when you wanted to implement compensation, you will say that, hey, compensation need 3 weeks of time or 4 weeks of time to do implementation, then testing and everything will happen. Unlike sandbox, implementation tenant is not refreshing unless I raise a concern. Sandbox tenant, every Friday it will refresh, means every Friday production data will come to sandbox and then I do a test. But implementation tenant, unless I say a customer, I go to Workday and say, hey, please refresh, my data is not going to be wiped out. So when you need to do some testing or any kind of implementation of your new modules or new research, you will do in implementation tenant. If there is something, an ongoing issue in the production and you wanted to resolve that, you will do that in sandbox. Okay, there is only one production, one sandbox. Implementation tenant I can have, but guys, all of these services are paid services. I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 implementation tenants, but there is only one production live environment and only one sandbox. So each customer will have bare minimum of these 3 tenants. Implementation count may go increase, but production and sandbox is only 1 tenant. Okay, Guys, again, this is an interview question. How Sandbox Tenant works. So Sandbox Tenant works every Friday, and this is common for all the customers. It is not like that you determine and say, no, Friday evening I am working, you do it on Sunday, or Saturday or Thursday we are not working, you do it on Saturday. No, it is not happening. Every Friday evening of US time, my tenant will be under upgradation. It will not be available for 3 to 4 hours. That 3 to 4 hours is for patch updating. So, and it is for all the customer globally. Okay, that is the reason we are not having sessions on Saturday, because Friday evening or Friday late night is Saturday morning for Indian people. And that is the reason, if you see in our time, Monday to Friday, Saturday we are not going to have a session, and Sunday we are going to have, because on Saturday tenant is not available. Okay, and why it is not available? It is going for an upgrade, and for all the customers, tenant will not be available. Okay, so this is how the concept of or the maintenance happens: production, sandbox, and implementation tenant. And it is not like that there is no date given. Workday is already give you a date, say that hey, this is the time and the tenant will not be available. We can have all such information given by Workday. Okay, now since we are talking about tenant, we need to see what kind of tenant we are going to offer. Okay, so guys, because as I said, without tenant, you can see first 4 or 5 chapter you can understand, since it involves theory and the practical part, but tenant is needed to get a hands-on experience. So guys, we are going to give you guys a tenant called GMS tenant. Now, what does a GMS mean? GMS stands for Global Modern Services, and GMS tenant means a tenant given by Workday for demo and practice purpose. So the tenant which we are going to give you is dedicatedly meant for practice purpose or learning purpose. Means all the data, as I said, if I'm sharing your customer data, that means I'm violating Workday's requirement where I'm sharing customers data. So the tenant which we are going to give you is a practice tenant where all the data is not original. It is just hypothetically updated by Workday, and we are using that part. So you see that whatever name you see, whatever comp you see, it is not the real data. It is hypothetically updated by Workday for testing purpose. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at the tenant. Okay, so let me log in first. I'm stopping a share for a while so that I can log in, and then I'll share my screen. One second. Because I'm giving my credential, that is the reason I am not sharing. Let me log in and then I'll share my screen. Okay, so guys, see here, I am using a GMS tenant. Okay, Logan McNeil. I am logged in as Logan McNeil. If I am the legitimate user, my name should have been shown here, but no, since I am using GMS tenant, so I'm logged in as a Logan McNeil. Now guys, this is how Workday's application looks. I have a browser in place and I have given my credentials, and now I'm using. I have not installed any software on my machine to use this application. It is a Google Chrome. I have a link with me. I have given my ID and password, and here I go. Okay, so this is the screen looks like. Okay, so the first screen which I see is a landing page. We are going to talk on that part tomorrow. Today is just an overview, so I'll not start anything where you get into system or into a tenant. So this is what my tenant will look like, and we are going to have a GMS tenant as an access, and I'm logged in as a Logan McNeil. So Logan McNeil is a super user given by Workday to me. So I have all the access. I have all the administrative access where I can delete, update, modify. I can do all such things with my access. Okay, so she is a HR administrator with all the access. Okay, now then we will talk about, now guys, since we all are into Workday and we need to understand the concept of Workday partners, services, and customer list. So who all are partner? Partner means the organization who implement Workday on behalf of Workday. So organization like Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Sira, all of these are Workday partners. So Workday have extended and said that, hey, I am certifying you to implement Workday on behalf of Workday. Okay, so those are partner company who implement Workday. Then customers means the customer who are using Workday and they need Workday support, right? Since we are learning Workday, so obviously we need to know Workday. So customers are there and we can work on that part. Services means one organization can implement Workday, other organization can support Workday, and we have a customer list. So I'll encourage you to just go for this website called www.workday.com. So let me go over that, workday.com. So just for you guys, you generate interest, go onto this website and just see that what all things Workday offer, who all are customer, who all are partner, which all industry Workday covers, just for your better understanding. But we will directly jump onto the customer list because I wanted to see which all customers are using Workday as their ecosystem. So I've clicked on customer. Guys, this is a website, so just go over that, but I'm not going to go that detail. Yes, so if you see here, you have where is my customer list? Yes, Netflix is using Workday, CloudMate, the gym. You see, lists are very huge. So if you go on, as I said, 3,400 customers are using. So you can just see the list of all the customers who are using. You name it, you'll get it. So you'll see that customers are using Workday. Okay, so just go in this website and just have a look at it. Now the big one, what all things we are going to talk about? Very important question. Right now, we have seen Workday offer this introduction. We have seen all those things, but now we are not here to understand Workday history and background. We don't want that. We want what you are going to teach us, how you are going to get a job. That is the only concern you have. So, as I mentioned in my previous session, that we are following Workday pattern. So if you go for certification with Workday, so Workday says HCM is the primary certification one has to have. So yes, we are going to have a Workday HCM functional. Now guys, when I say functional means no programming skill is required. Okay, so we are going to talk about all of these chapters. So Workday HCM Fundamental has 8 chapters. Okay, core concept, we'll start our core concept from tomorrow. Organization, staffing model, jobs, all of these things we are going to talk about in our HCM functional training. Something is wrong, but no problem. Okay, so we are going to have, or let me get rid of this and go this way, or else it will be okay. So HCM functional, we are going to talk about core concept, navigations. So till chapter 4, it is easy to understand. We will going to understand the concept and we will digest that part till chapter 4. Something is wrong with my system, but guys, please bear with me. So till chapter 4, come on, yeah. Till chapter 4, we are going to have a easy goes life where concept wise easy and understand. But the complexity comes in picture when we talk about compensation, security, business process, and transaction. When we talk about these chapters, it is going to give us a hard time. Now, what does that mean? Means, guys, all of these chapters are activity based. As I mentioned, it is 80% activity and 20% presentation. So each chapters are interrelated. You say that, no, I am fine with organization. Let's skip organization and look out for other things. No, this is not going to fly. Each of these chapters are integrated with each other. Means if you don't understand concept, you will not be able to go for the navigation. So one down. If you don't have organization, you will not be able to use all the other items. So each chapter is equivalent important, and if you are not following the concept, then you might miss the information. So when I talk about HCM functional, these are the chapters or the concept which we are going to cover in detail with proper hands-on experience. Okay, and same topic is given by Workday. So just copy and paste. No need to think and improvise thing. Yes, the only improvisation which we have done, Workday takes 16 hours. We are taking 20 to 30 hours to cover the topic. That is the only improvisation. Rest, everything remains the same. You will be given manuals, you will be given tenant. I am there to explain. So we are happy to do that part. So this is functional. No technical skill is needed. Now, let's come back to the other part of thing, which is technical part of Workday. Okay, even report, calculated field, and EIB. First three concept is not programmatically driven. So even we can understand first three chapters. Okay, when I say first three chapters, we need to have a logic clear. No, not more than that. But yes, my programming skill will come in picture when I talk about core connectors and Workday Studio. Okay, so we are going to have a techno-functional training. This is my functional topics, and these are my technical topics. Point to consider, Workday Studio, we are going to have an overview, but apart from Workday Studio, we will have everything here as a deep dive. Right from scratch, we are going to have that part. So these are the topics which we are going to cover when we talk about Workday techno-functional training. Okay. Okay. What all things we offer, what all things we are going to cover is here. We are going to give you guys a training manuals, tenant access, certification oriented Q&A, and throughout the session we are going to have a Q&A. We will have we already have a interview preparation and a document where it will be guiding you that how you can move on with that part. Okay, apart from HCM, if you are interested in integrations or any other offerings, you can very well go ahead and generate your interest. But yeah, to move on to any other module, HCM is the key and HCM is the entry point. So we will first cover the entry point, then depending upon your core area or depending upon your interest, you can move on to the respective modules and go for it. Okay, that brings us to the end of the topic which I have planned for today, and let's be open for Q&A, guys. And I'm sorry that I've extended the session by 7 minutes, but since I started late, so that was the reason. I see that for some of you it might be late, so if you need to drop, you can drop. Now I am opening up a session for a Q&A. So let me stop the recordings.